So I've only got one hand I want to look at from yesterday, and that is mainly because I put in about 10 minutes of volume. And actually, what ended up happening is I substituted my cache volume with MTTs, which is it's something I'll do very rarely, but it usually takes a degree of honesty with myself. Um, Usually along the lines of, can I play today and generate a win rate which I feel comfortable with. And I felt like my mental faculties were rather compromised yesterday by virtue of quitting caffeine a day prior. So I decided to play MTTs because they're just stupid. uh, I honestly view them like crapshoots in which I have a slight edge. And I actually ended up winning one, which was kind of cool, and it makes up for the lost EV for the past 2 or 3 weeks. So yeah, I feel pretty fortunate about that. The way Elliot Road describes tournaments is it's literally, I heard him say this on a podcast, his poker mental mindset or something like that. It seems redundant to say mental mindset. Poker mindset podcast, I believe. He says it's very much akin to playing a lottery, and if you have a slight edge, you have maybe a fraction more of a lottery ticket. So let's say the recreational player has one lottery ticket. Let's say you are a competent MTT regular, which I don't consider myself at all at this stage. So maybe I have 1.5 tickets instead, and maybe the competent regular has 2 tickets, and then it's just a raffle from there. You just put your ticket in, and I feel like there's some sort of circular motion involved in it. So I played this one hand, and this is kind of what just made me not want to play anymore. Um, and it's bad insofar that I could have won an entire stack potentially. Um, Trying to think if there's any other way or anything else I should preface it with. Um, I don't think so. So I'm button here, and I put in a standard 2x. Here is the mark, playing 62-13. I get a squeeze from this guy. I was actually so out of it, I didn't even look at the time what his squeeze percentage looks like. Um, so it looks like 11% over 19 opportunities. So I don't know if that's substantial or not. I don't know what a good sample would be there. Anyway, call. He puts in this 1/4 size, which in hindsight actually might be better. Um, I might be better served to put in a raise now because I don't necessarily have to play for all 3 streets, especially if the board starts complicating with interior cards and flush cards, backdoor flushes, and the street. It can get pretty pretty complex, I think. So I actually think I'd prefer to see myself. I haven't really developed much of a raising range in 3-bet pots, so I suppose when he uses this sizing, I'm not really adequately prepared to do anything in a more aggressive decision on the possible tree of options. So I think that's kind of bad because he's basically pricing himself in perfectly with the mergiest of ranges. So he's giving himself a great opportunity to hit those quote unquote scary internal cards with basically a full range of like everything remotely connected to the board from bottom pair to jacks and queen jack, etc. So I think I should be raising now. I actually totally forgot about this part of the hand, so it looks like I messed it up in more than one fundamental section. So he puts in the 1/4 and then he takes a check line. And here is where I think I'm kind of relapsing into my old paranoid mindset. Um, and I'm just keeping in mind that I'm basically feeling completely inebriated, inebriated at this point. So I'm not thinking clearly at all. So there's a lot of brain fog. But I remember at this point in the hand, I was trying to convince myself that you can take this line with kings, and kings alone, which is 6 combinations. And I think what I'll end up doing is putting this in Flopzilla to prove to myself how almost amusing it is to put him on one specific hand. It's like total regression into poker mindset when I first started playing poker. And by that I mean not having a complete holistic sense of how his entire range looks. Um, I certainly think he's capped here. I think I'll find, because I myself am capped. Well, I guess another thing I was afraid of is the check raise on the turn. My mind was just not in this hand at all. And the reason I kind of masochistically enjoy looking at hands like this is to, in a way, kind of humiliate myself. So it kind of registers through the pain that ensues from going over it again. And you know what? I think I fixed the webcam. It should be in the top left. Let me move this over here though. Let me put this over here. This hand is just not, it's not good on so many levels. So on the river, instead of jamming against a series of data points, which basically tells me he's got a merged range himself, which might rarely have a hand like kings in it, but I doubt it, considering the perceived capness of our range when we just call the flop. I mean, I guess I can call this with Jack 10 occasionally as a slow play, um, which I think I will do because I haven't really adapted to the unusually small c-bet in spots like this. I hope I took a note on him for this. I'll probably just remember. I think it's safe to say when he takes 1/4 c-bet, check call half pot on the turn. Um, my rationalization for the half pot on the turn, I guess, is kind of standard, and it's something I've been experimenting with. I'm wondering if my range would prefer to polarize here, but I don't think so, given how capped our range is. We're just pressing an advantage here, and I think I could have won an entire stack here if my head was a bit clearer. The lack of clarity cost me potentially $20 more, which is significant at this limit. Um, before I expose what he had, and I think it's kind of obvious at this point. Actually, not so obvious because he's squeezed, and this is kind of what I found a bit perplexing, and maybe actually can justify my actions a bit more. I just had that intuition he had kings. I don't know why. Or I do know why. It's because I'm excessively paranoid all the time. Let's see. Okay, let me open up Flopzilla. What I'll probably do is pause the video and then, yeah, come back because it's annoying otherwise. Okay. Can't really fit both in the screen at the same time, I don't think. So I've given him a pretty generous range, including one straight possibility, just to be nice. Um, and then I gave him basically all his combo draws, like spade plus straight draw type hands, all of his dominantes. I mean, some of the stuff I expect to check jam, which is why I'm being generous by just putting it all into a calling range, just to prove to myself how much domination we have here. We've got 83% equity, so it's just like the most slam dunk jam ever. Um, I occasionally gave Maces and Kings 25% of the time, just because that's what I was paranoid about. So we'll give them those. What would that be? 12, 25. So 4 combos. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy that I stopped playing cash and I decided to bank an MT2 instead. And thought I would quickly make this video for that self-humiliation so I don't do this again to save myself from more future humiliation. I really enjoy that sort of public self-deprecation sort of attitude, which might be a bit uh, off-putting, or it's like neurotically driven and attention-seeking. So I can see how it's not the most not a behavior that will be receptive to most, but oh well. Okay. If all things keep going as they're going, I'll probably move up to 100 at the end of the month. I'll just grind it out at 50 and divorce myself from results until the end of the month, and I should hit around 50,000 hands by that point. The problem I have with my current laptop is around where I'm at right now. The hardware starts struggling, so probably have to restart an entire new database at 50K. But I'll export the database and then make a massive database at the end of the year, or at the end of, I guess, a couple of years, just for fun. All right.